Well, welcome back to Stott's Fine Art. Got a rainy night here in Oklahoma City. Thought I'd come up and do a watercolor. This is just a small little sample, 5x7 on 140-pound paper. I don't know if you can see the drawing. It's pretty light, but it's just a little Adobe and some trees, so we'll get started. Wetting down the paper. Protecting the Adobe. I don't want to put water on it. I want to keep the sky and background trees away from the Adobe. So keep it dry so the water doesn't migrate in to that. Okay. I'll let that set in for just a minute. Got it plenty saturated, but the Arches paper is pretty thirsty, so you've got to really saturate it to make it stay wet. I have to move this palette. I move the wood backing. I don't want that palette to be sliding off of it. Okay, let's try some Payne's Gray here. Maybe put a little neutral tint in with that. Bring that in so maybe you can see a little of the mixing. I always mix it pretty strong, and then I can always dilute back from there if it's too strong. And you can weaken it as it comes down. Okay, quick little sky. Just a small piece of paper, so gotta play with that. Let it run the direction you want it to. That's I love all oil, acrylic, and watercolor, but I think mostly what I like about watercolor is just the way that paint moves on that wet paper. That's big excitement for an artist. I do enjoy watching the movement of it. Okay. And when you're working small like this, you have a lot more control. The timing the moisture level of the paper doesn't dry up so fast. You've got just small areas. You can stay with it, so it's kind of a nice little luxury to have all that control. Bigger watercolors will, you know, they can get away from you a little bit as far as the drying edges as you move from one part of the paper to another. So, okay, I think I want to put some kind of dark background trees here with some deep hooker's green and whatever flavor I've got on there. I like to leave some of these areas not so clean and get a little bit of that previous color just to customize everything. And over here mixing these greens here. I've got some hookers. I pre-wet them, but they're still taking a little while to open up here. I'm going to throw a little bit of maybe a neutral tint in there with it. Deepen it, maybe some Prussian blue. Yeah, that's good. So, just want to put some of the nice dark trees in the background there. Got a nice watercolor brush. Can go to a nice fine tip, or you can use it on the broad side with heavier strokes, but it's what a good watercolor brush does. You don't have to change. You've got a tip, pretty good tip, sharp tip on it. Okay. Just got in there in the nick of time. Yeah, it's still wet enough. So I was telling you how nice it is to have a small watercolor and you can keep up with the drying time. I almost lost the drying time. Okay, it's a nice little intense green background trees. That looks good enough, I think I'll just end with that, this part of it anyway. So, okay, I see a couple of little things I want to do here. This is not a big deal. There's a little intrusion, that green onto where that Adobe's going to be. I want to clean that up, but when you hit that, if it's very wet, it'll push up into that. It'll create a mark. Now, on trees, it might not matter that much because you want some clumpiness in there anyway, but you've got to decide, do I want to go in there now or do I want to go back and clean that up later? And then when I get the Adobe color on there, it might not matter anyway. I'm just loosening it up and then Try to pull that off. Yeah, that's watercolor though. It's a little tiny thing can grow. That's not going to be a big problem though. Like I said, we can cover that up with the Adobe color. Let me see if I can. There we go. Cleaned up enough. Okay, now I just want a kind of a greenish gold foreground here. So it's some orange and yellow, and then I may want to clean this. Go ahead and get a clean area out of the palette. And may add some green to that anyway, but I'll start with it clean. I think I will add a little greenish to that. It's a little strong, so I want a little bit weaker foreground there. I'm glad that went right there. Kind of want to intrude into this. I want that to mix a little bit, and see if I can wake that back up and let them blend into each other. It'll create some interesting areas there, I think. We'll add a little bit more green in it. Just creating a colorful foreground. Some grasses and weeds, just greens and golds, things like that. Go ahead and get all the white taken out. Let that run. See if you can see that. Yeah, I'll get a little closer. Just letting this run down into here creates some vertical grass type shapes, just letting it move on its own. Okay. Put something in there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I want this to dry here. I want to put some Adobe color. I don't want this to blend up into there too much, so I want the timing. I don't want that too moist. It's okay if it's a little moist and drifts up a little bit. I don't want it to totally pollute that area. I'll start over here with some little bit shadow side. I'll make some shadow over here of the Adobe. It won't have to be so clean and perfect. So just a little raw sienna and some browns, neutral tint. Bring this so you can see it. Neutral tint's good for just deepening some things. Works pretty well with a lot of different color. Okay, don't want this too terribly dark. It's a little darker, but kind of weaken that a bit. And then pull the dark over. Just go right over. There's a little window in there, but I'll just go right over it and then put it in when that dries. Okay. It's coming along so far. See, if this is too wet, I don't want that green to cave in into that either. So that's just with watercolor. You've always got to remember that adjacent areas, if they're wet, they'll pour into each other. If they're dry, they'll behave. So sometimes you want them to come in, and sometimes you don't. That's just it's part of the fun of watercolor. You learn its characteristics. And then over here, I want this pretty clean and light. Like maybe somehow we're getting a little light in there. Sun back over this way. At least in my world it is tonight. Mixing Adobe color, basically it's kind of an orange, but then you don't want it bright orange. You want to tone it down with some raw sienna. It's not a bad color. And then when I go into that, I want it to be lighter than that, and I don't want that to pour into that. So I think this edge is drawing. Right in here is still very wet, but the edge is dry enough, I think. So, you don't add white to lighten watercolor. You just dilute it with water. So, there we go. There's our diluted side. And just need to let that dry. Now they lighten, as the pigment soaks into that paper along with the water, pigment does lighten a little bit in most cases. So let's see I'm gonna let it dry naturally for a minute or so. Here it's pretty wet. I don't know if you can see it with the angle. I've got a little bit of detail. I've got a door, a window, and a few vigas, little beams, a window over here. And, at this point, if I tried to put those in there, they would just dissipate in the water. They'd just completely float away. So I'm waiting a minute. I like things to dry naturally for just a couple of minutes before I hit them with a hairdryer. And we will go ahead and hit this. Now, sorry about the noise. But, cover that mic, maybe that'll help. Okay. Did it help to cover that mic? I don't know. I'll play it back and find out. Alright, now I've got a little door and a few little details. Even though this can come to a fine point, sometimes you need to get out a script brush, you know, when you got some real small areas. I think I'll probably have to do that with this one. But just the just for the windows, I'll mix up a dark color. I don't like to use just black. It's a little too strong, but some neutral tint and raw sienna gives it dark enough. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the script brush. It's fun to work small. Really, just it's kind of instant painting. Doesn't take long. It's good for the little YouTube videos too. You know, it's you can do a whole painting full length without speeding it up, and of course it's just a small piece, so you don't maybe learn as much, but it, you know, the characteristics, you learn those, and the principles are the same. So something I thought I'd try, these small ones. This is just a little area over the door, like a little canopy. So have the door up here. And then there'd be shadow, so we can just throw a little shadow in here, let it kind of fade out over here. And then these vigas, little beams, be a little shadow. Under that, it'll help ground them to the building. And then put a nice little rough old wood-hewn door in there. Neutral tint and raw sienna. You hear that thunder? Got me in the mood for watercolor. Just for a second here. Okay. Old wood door there. Maybe it would have a little more shadow up under here. Just let it fade in there. Better leave that alone. It's getting a little testy. Well, there would be a shadow off that. Okay. Now let's. You can do a little bit of opaque. Typically, watercolor is a transparent medium, but I see a lot of watercolors doing a lot of opaque, and that's okay. They make it look good, So in the old days, college, I'd get pretty marked off pretty bad for using opaque, but you can for a little bit. I thought I'd put a little Latia coyote fencing along there, so I'm getting some titanium white. Just going to throw in a few quick little fence posts. And so let's clean that brush. There's some white and a little bit of our neutral tint. Don't want them too white. Sometimes a lot of work's done on the palette before you ever get to the paper or the canvas. Okay, here's what I mean, just some little Latia fence posts. Just kind of capture the essence of those things. You see those a lot. And then maybe really get it a fine point and put a little cross ties in there. And I feel like I should darken this side a bit. It looks pretty good. Normally that's when you want to quit, but I think this would be pretty easy. Just another layer of the Adobe color. Got some of this white mixed in with it, which I don't really want. Okay, I don't want this. This doesn't need to be too dark, so. And if you feel like it's too dark, you can pull some off. Clean your brush and then take a lot of the water out and just pull some out. If you feel like you darkened it too much, you've got a little working time. I do like that better, a little stronger. Shadow side. You can do little touches up here and there, but I don't really see anything I want to mess around with. Just a good clean little watercolor, and it's best not to overdo any watercolor, but especially a small one. All you gotta do now is a little bit of signatory. Always sign your work. So just get neutral tint, some blue, some green, just something that kind of fits the color. And I like it to be pretty strong. I don't want it to fade over time. If it's real light, it just kind of can fade away. Okay, so make this out of the way. Thomas A. Stutz. Okay. Well, that's about it for a nice rainy Sunday night here in OKC. And just gotta wait for that signature to dry. I've got some little frames for these. Got a mat. Let me go get it while that dries. Then we'll sign off just a minute. Here's some of these little ones I framed. Make a cute little frame piece. So this one will matted. That's the wrong size of mat, but it'll be a bigger mat. But anyway, you kind of see how that cleans up a watercolor, gussies it up a little. So anyway, thanks from Stot's Fine Art. Bye-bye.